Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions for Week 15. Last week I went 8-5, which brings my total season record up to 141-67. And I'm basically guessing that because I forgot to submit my picks on my ESPN league. But anyway, bye week season is officially done. We got a full slate of games the rest of the season. It's now time for it's basically the witching hour of the season when playoff berths become clinched and playoff berths get stripped away. And one of these playoff berths that could possibly get stripped away, we have the Los Angeles Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Rams picking up a huge, and I mean one of their best victories they've had in the last 2 years against the Buffalo Bills. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams. I mean, the stars, they all showed up that game. And at the perfect time, too. It's so far as looking like this game is going to come, the Rams season is going to come down to that final week where they play the Seahawks. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, they got back on track against the Chicago Bears, where they pretty much, it was over at halftime because they only gave up 4 yards of offense in the first half. That's impressive. Now, this game, now, these two teams, they already played each other this year, if you don't remember. It was week three again. It was week three in Los Angeles, and the Rams were the team that came out on top. And looking at this game, I could see the Rams winning this game. I really want to pick them so bad, but something in my gut is telling me that the 49ers are going to give it. They're going to go pretty much try and run the table in the NFC, and I got them getting the win in San Francisco. Well, Santa Clara. And next we have is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Chiefs, DSS Machina. I mean, they always. Why do their games always come towards the teams? Ugh, I can't even get the word out right. All their games involve them or their opposing team getting in field goal range, and luck being on Kansas City's side. I mean, seriously, this team are still not in peak form. Meanwhile, for the Cleveland Browns, they lost to the Steelers. They have officially been eliminated from postseason contention. And sadly, we got the bad side of Jameis Winston, where he was turning the ball over like crazy. This game is going to be in Cleveland, and we all know Kansas City. This game is going to be very, 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 very closer than what the people expect, but it's hard to bet against Kansas City, even if they're lucky stiffs. Hopefully, it does not come down to a field goal with this team. Next, we got a game. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Tennessee Titans. Bengals picking up a Monday night win over the Dallas Cowboys. It's part of it due to both teams' incompetence in that final drive, having a punt blocked, having the Cowboys muff the block punt, and then the Bengals scored. Jamar Chase called game. That's how it happened. Meanwhile, for the Tennessee Titans, you lost to Jacksonville, but I felt like they was on a bigger mission, and that was to secure their tank. Let Jacksonville win, give them some false hope of confidence. The more we lose, the closer we are to the top of the draft pick boards. And this game being played in Tennessee, and with the Bengals defense, I do not trust still. They might Titans, their offense might show up on this one, but Cincinnati, like with San Francisco, they're in run the table mode in their season. They cannot afford another loss. I'm gonna roll with the Bengals to win. Next up, we have is the Washington Commanders taking on the New Orleans Saints. Commanders coming off a bye week, where the last time we saw them, they picked up an easy victory over the Tennessee Titans. Meanwhile, for the New Orleans Saints, yes, they beat the New York Giants, which is not hard to do, but they did lose Derek Carr as he will be out for the season with a broken hand. So that means they might be going back to either Spencer Rattler or Jake Haener as their quarterbacks. Who knows? But this game is a little personal for Mr. Jaden Daniels, as he's he's going back to New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where he played college, LSU. It's an LSU reunion game for him, and I think with the Saints pretty much being dead on offense, Commanders, they shouldn't have a problem getting a win here. Keyword, shouldn't. Giants ain't worth my breath. Let's move on. And now we got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Carolina Panthers. And if you're not reading this wrong, the Panthers are favored in this game. The first time they're not the underdog since December 2022. Now, this game, the Cowboys coming off a loss against the Cincinnati Bengals, and it was their own fault, touching balls when they're not supposed to. Meanwhile, for the Carolina Panthers, yes, they look up an improved football team. They nearly had a chance to beat the Eagles, but it's just like they can't get it right. It's like they just can't win for nothing. Now, with the Panthers being favored, this kind of comes as a surprise. I was, you know what, for the most part throughout this entire season leading up to this game, I kept saying the Dallas Cowboys are going to mop the floor with the Carolina Panthers. But given the circumstances, I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to take the shot at it. I'm going to pick the Panthers to win. Although that game, even though that stadium is going to be 90% Cowboy fans there, I'm taking the Panthers because why not? And now we have a tank bowl. The New York Football Jets taking on the Jacksonville Duval County Jaguars. Jets losing in overtime to the Dolphins, and Jacksonville getting a win over the Tennessee Titans where the game was ugly. And to be honest with you, I don't even care who wins. I'm just going to say Jets will win. They got more talent on their roster. I don't think Jacksonville will get another victory the rest of the season. That's where I'm at. Let's move on. And now we got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Houston Texans. The Dolphins, they get an overtime win thanks to Jonnu Smith finally showing up in overtime. In regulation, he had 0 catches, but in overtime, he had 3 of them, including the game winner. So I know that helped out some fantasy teams. Meanwhile, for the Houston Texans, they're coming off a bye week, but the last time we saw them, they got the win over Jacksonville Jaguars, where pretty much that game was overshadowed by that very dirty hit by that one player. I forgot his name. He is now suspended for 3 weeks. And for Houston, just be glad they're in the AFC South. That division is not good. And this game being played in Houston, and I do think this one could go in any direction. I'm going to go ahead and take the Texans to win. They had the bye week to rest. They took the bye week to get healthy. As for the Dolphins, I do think this is going to be I think it's going to be a really good game. Just keep an eye out on that. And now we got the Battle of the Horses with the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Denver Broncos. Colts coming off a bye week, but last time we saw them, they beat the New England Patriots on a 2-point conversion. You don't see that every day, putting their balls on the field. Meanwhile, for the Broncos, they're basically the overachievers of the season. They got another win last week they got a win over somebody. Can't remember who it was. It'll come back to me. But anyway, the Broncos, they're looking pretty good towards heading into the final stretch of the season. And this game being played in Denver, I think the Broncos continue their good positive magic going on to the season, and I hope, hey, this is a good sign, good things to come for the Broncos. Hope they keep it up. And I just found out the Broncos had a bye week, and we last saw them beat the Browns. It just came to me. And then we got the Battle of Pennsylvania, where the Pittsburgh Steelers will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, two of the luckiest teams in the NFL. But Steelers, they had a pretty easy victory over the Browns. A victory that I will say they didn't have to stress that much over. Meanwhile, the Eagles, yes, they beat the Panthers, but they did not look good doing it, on offense at least. And now we're getting reports of the passing offense not being up to par. It was Jalen Hurts. He did not really have that good of a game. And now A.J. Brown's calling him out. He's like, now's not, you're 10-2. You won like 8 straight. Now, but the pretty kind of soft schedule. Now is not the time to bring this up, Philly. But outside of that, we actually got some clinching scenarios heading into this week. With the Steelers, they could clinch with a win, or if Indianapolis could get a loss and Miami get a loss. And for the Eagles, they got to win and have Washington to lose to claim victory over the NFC East. Now this game's gonna be played in Philly, and honestly, I'm having a hard time picking this one. Part of me wants to pick the Steelers because DNS Machina, and part of me want to pick the Eagles because, well, DNS Machina. But I am going to give the slightest, and I mean slightest, of edges to the Eagles. Hopefully they figure out this passing offense, but if it was up to me personally, I hope both teams end in a 3-3 tie. And now we got the New England Patriots taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Patriots had a bye week last week where they lost on a 2-point conversion to the Indianapolis Colts. That's what got them eliminated from postseason contention. And for the Cardinals, they suffered a very tough loss to the Seattle Seahawks. And starting to look like that glimmer of light that they had early this season, it's starting to fade pretty faster than you think. Luckily, they're taking on one of the worst teams in football. Well, let me take that back. A rebuilding team in football that took me this long for it to get the trash can treatment. So therefore, I do expect this game to be decent. I think it's gonna be very good contested tonight. I want to see what the Patriots are gonna come out with, but I am gonna roll with the Cardinals to finally get a bounce back win over the New England Patriots. But hey, I won't be surprised if the Patriots win. Just keep an eye out on that. And next up, we have a very underrated game. Might be the most underrated game of this week. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Bucks getting a win over the Raiders, where honestly it was a little challenging at first, but they were able to figure it out in the end. That McMillan guy, he had a really good game. And for the Chargers, yeah, they lost to the Chiefs on a game-winning field goal. And they're now out of the division race, but hey, the wild card race for them is still pretty much alive. And for in this game, yeah, it's gonna be in Los Angeles. I do want to take the Buccaneers to win, but because it's gonna be in Los Angeles, Chargers home game, which they really don't have a home, I am gonna go ahead and lean towards the Chargers to win this game. But given the nature of this matchup, I can see this going in any direction. And then we have a Sunday night football matchup with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The Packers losing on Thursday night football to the Lions. And for the Seattle Seahawks, they picked up a huge division win over the Cardinals, completing the season sweep. And right now, where Seattle's looking, they do have a decent path to the postseason. And I proved everyone right that they're on my sleeper team. Now, Green Bay, they do have a clinching scenario, but it's very complex, and I'm not going to mention it. It's because it's not really going to happen. But looking at this game, I think this is gonna be a really fun game. I was gonna pick the Packers, then history started talking to me because history shows Green Bay does not have a good history in Seattle, at least in the Quest CenturyLink Lumen Field era, and because of that, I gotta pick Seattle to win this game. They're at home, they're playing good football, and I do expect Green Bay to also bring it. But right now, I actually got to go with Seattle to win. And now we got the first of two Monday Night Football games with the Chicago Bears taking on the Minnesota Snowfall Vikings. Bears losing to the 49ers, where they only have 4 yards of offense in the first half. But Romaduze, at least he came alive in the second half. And the Vikings, I underestimated you guys. They got the win over the Atlanta Falcons. And remind me to never underestimate the Vikings again. And the Vikings actually got a clinching scenario. And it's going to be very simple. It's win in. If they win, they're in. But if Los Angeles suffer a loss or Seattle suffer a loss, they're in. So the Vikings right now, they're sitting pretty heading into the postseason. And with them playing the Bears, it's hard for me to pick against them. And the Bears are not playing that great of football at all either. So I'm going to go with the Vikings to win. And then we got, oh God, the Atlanta Falcons and the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders losing to the Bucks. What else is new? Aiden O'Connell is now out for the year. And you're going to have to roll with Desmond Ridder for the rest of the season. Hey, Desmond Ridder revenge game. But Falcons, oh boy, Kirk Cousins, no touchdowns, 8 interceptions in the last 3 games. That is very, very, very concerning to say the least. Luckily, they're playing the Raiders. So maybe Captain Kirk could get on track. But if he doesn't get on track with this team in Desmond Ridder's revenge game, it might be the time to call Michael Penix off the bench. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and take the Falcons to win. And hopefully Kirk Cousins can recapture his week 5 to week 8 magic he had. And then, last but not least, we have not a game of the week, possibly the game of the year between the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions. The Bills, well, Josh Allen, good news was Josh Allen scored 6 touchdowns. The bad news is the defense didn't show up and they surprisingly lost. Meanwhile, for the Lions, they had completed the season sweep over the Green Bay Packers. And this game, could this be a Super Bowl preview? And let me just say, I hope this is a Super Bowl preview. I'm expecting this to be the best game of the season. Better than that Bills and Chiefs game that was a heavyweight matchup that lived up to the hype. This one is going to be one of those heavyweight matchups. And I've gone back and forth with this game. Part of me want to take the Bills. Part of me want to take the Lions. But right now, with this game being played in Detroit, I gotta go with the Lions to win this game. It's gonna be hard for that stadium's gonna be rocking. This game will have a playoff type atmosphere, even if it's an intra-conference matchup. And I think this is going to be a game where somebody's just going to have to lose. So before we go, let's take a look at the update standings of the AFC. And as you can see, the Bills and the Chiefs have already clinched their divisions, while the Jaguars, Patriots, Jets, Browns, and Titans, they all been eliminated. And for the NFC, we have the Detroit Lions and Philadelphia Eagles clinching their spots this week, with the Eagles possibly getting a chance to clinch their division next week. But there's a lot of football to be played. just don't get eliminated. And that concludes Week 15 predictions. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Gamble safely, and I'll see you next time.